So I'm at Vineland's nursery buying some plants. Apparently I need to replace a pawpaw. And I replaced a persimmon I thought was a pawpaw. We have here what I would look at and say that's Formica subsericea, but I don't think it is. They're a little shiny for that. So it's Formica in the Fusca group, but I don't know what it is because they look different than regular Formica that I'm used to seeing around my house. Roses. They usually get loads of aphids. The more hybrid tea they are, the better. I'm sure there are other types of roses, so when I think of hybrid teas, though, I think of the ones that have all sorts of different petals. The ones that have lots of petals to them, you'll notice those tend to get lots more diseases here and nibbled upon because they were bred for beauty and fragrance and things like that instead of defenses against insects and disease, things of that sort. And I forget the name of this particular rose. It's like Dark Knight or something like that. But it is crawling with ants. And I believe it's because there are little aphids here and there. I'm not really seeing any in particular. There's a lot on this cane here. That type of aphid there, you see them all like kind of flicking. They're all flicking about. They're actually spraying little bits of honeydew. Or I don't know what you'd actually call that. Well, anyway, they're flicking it all down on the leaves down here, and the ants are collecting it secondhand, which is both beneficial and detrimental to the plant because they're losing energy, and it's preventing them from being able to flower as nicely as they should be. To work on this focus with this camera here. But on the upside, though, it's preventing the other insects from supposedly eating the plant, but, you see this? They're not doing that good of a job here, in my opinion. This little rose bush is a little, use the term shredded. I'm missing all sorts of leaves here. I actually don't know what's eating this plant. Something might be there. Some sort of caterpillar or crickets or slugs or something come and get it, probably at night, because I do watch it during the day, and I don't usually see anything like that. But anyway, lots of ants all over these plants. So this is another non-native rose, a cultivar. It's not doing that well because I don't actually spray anything in my yard, and also this is the flower that's the farthest along. It's actually really pretty when it does open up, but it's one of the frilly ones with a labyrinth of flower petals on it. And it's doing a little bit better insect-wise. It's actually a cultivar called Agatha Christie, which I don't think they sell anymore because it didn't sell well, probably. But it's also getting ants all over it. And over here on one of the little flower petals here, I have to watch because they do have thorns on them. And attempt the camera to focus properly. Let's see. There we go, more aphids. And I am seeing Camponotus pensavonicus on some of these stems here. No place close to me, so moving on. So this is a native rose that I grow, and the flowers to this one only have 5 petals. Again, they're not open quite yet, but they're also getting lots of insect activity here. But you see, that's aside from a little nibble here and there missing, I don't see too many problems with this plant. It's despite, not being, bred to be nice and, frilly or anything like that. It's actually, doing quite well. And down here, God, I hate autofocus. There we go. We actually have a caterpillar do something that I see. I have no idea what that is. So we're going to leave it alone, and I might identify it later. If I do, it'll be in the description. But moving over here to my pawpaw tree. Actually, I have a lot of activity over here. What might actually be Campanatus, I'm trying to remember the species. It's either a bicolor or something like that. And then we have a winter ant here, Proletus imparus. And the tips of all the leaves here have this leaf curl happening to it. And over here, good demonstration as to why, there are aphids all over this tree. And they're causing the leaves to curl around, so things like ladybugs can't eat them. But also, the tree is becoming covered in the nectar and leavings and stuff of the aphids. I can't unfurl one of these without any aphids inside. And once again, the damn autofocus. This is why I hate point and shoots, but I'm still trying to get used to this camera here. Hello, I'm ready to masterfully do something up there. I'm not really sure we're seeing any there, but clearly some insect is doing this. And you can see ladybugs. Oh, this one has some sort of disease. Which is good, because this is actually an invasive species, this particular ladybug. It's the Asian multicolored ladybug, I believe is the way you say the common name. And if you look at the thorax here, the white and black just before the head, that's a good way to identify them, because this one species has so many different spots and color patterns to it, it's actually tricked people into thinking they have a very diverse yard of ladybugs, but it actually has something like 12 or 14 known color patterns, and a fair amount of them look different enough from one another, and some of them don't look that right at all. But North America actually has something like 400 native ladybug species, or I should say lady beetle, because they are beetles. Alright, it is raining today, and that means there are fewer ants out, and fewer Cremitigaster crossi guarding the crops here of aphids. Let's see, can I do that? The thing I can do. And a predator of aphids are soldier beetles. There's one right here. Actually, I've just realized these aren't Cremitigaster crossi at all. These are Tapenoma sessile. So, yeah, Cremitigaster have completely abandoned their little aphid herds because of the weather. That one? No, that's a Tapenoma. Actually, let me look at it from a different angle. It's hard to tell from behind. What are you? Yeah, that's a Tapenoma sessile there. Don't know what it's doing, but it's there. Yeah, that's interesting. I notice sometimes this species, if they're given the opportunity, they'll actually they'll build a little shed around their aphids. I sometimes see that when the aphids start going on the tree directly above us, which is an eastern redbud now going to seed. But we're a little early for that. So another sunflower I have in my yard is called downy sunflower, and this usually only grows at the beach or in sandy areas. Basically the soil here is not so good, so it's one of those plants that enjoys growing in those types of conditions. I see ants on it, but I don't see them doing too much. Directly above it, though, we have the viburnum, which Cremitigaster crossi has been enjoying with all their aphids and such. And it is finished flowering, but I still see ants exploring around looking for more aphids, which tend to only occur on the little nodes for flowers and developing seeds. This is another native sunflower. It's actually, I call it woodland sunflower, but I think it better goes by a 10-petal sunflower or something like that. And it's way less aggressive than the other type, but I see way less ant activity on the leaves and such. So, but I do see Timothyrax Cryptopanosis on this plant, but I don't see that on the other one. Probably because it's growing directly next to the trunk of an oak tree. This particular species is a bit more shade tolerant than most, which is why I'm interested in it. Produces, bright yellow flowers. Little tiny ones, though. They're more like a Coreopsis flower to me, but... Anyway, it slowly divides, but, you compare this little clump here to what's happening over here with the Maximilian sunflower. And I'm getting way more diversity of ants on this one. I don't know why, really. But you see, it's way more aggressive about spreading. I think it's probably because it likes going in full sun. Where are some ants? More ants around the other way here. Something came in and snapped a bunch of the leaves, and I don't know what that is. Birds landing on them, or some sort of caterpillar or something? But anyway, Tapinomus thessali on one. Another. Another. I thought I saw Lasius alanius on some of these, but not seeing any. They're not jumping out at me right now. Yeah, here's more of these leaves that are weird. I don't know what that is. Probably some caterpillar or something inside of them. Inside of the stem. So you see, this is a very aggressive plant by comparison. It's actually overtaking a non-native rhododendron. And let's see, what are you? Campanatus. Nearticus, I believe, which I need to correct. I've been calling this Campanatus caria for the longest time. And I forgot I actually need to key things out. I can't just call them what I want. Which is annoying, but yeah, I looked at the facial hair on this one, and it looks more like Nearticus. For some reason, I thought I had it confused and backwards with the distribution. I thought, I'm trying to think, I thought Nearticus was only found up north, and it turns out they're found slightly less up north, or something like that. Anyway, Nearticus is actually way more abundant and common than caria. But they do both occur in New Jersey, so... yeah. There's some type of wasp over here. What's up? Alright, wait, you. Focus, damn it. And went underneath the leaf. Where we at here? Yeah. Anyway, that looked like Lasius alanius to me. Had yellowish kind of legs, different type of hair. So we're back with the Joe Pye weed, and here is a. The autofocus won't let me do this here. All this is our thing here. There we go. Here is a Campanatus suburbatus with the yellow stripes on the gaster. Better defining, it's a better example of what to look for when identifying this species. I'm sure there are other things like facial hair and such, but it's, compared to the other species that it could be, the yellow stripes on the gaster kind of cinch it there. And this particular stem on the Joe Pye weed is bustling with not only Campanatus, but the Crematogaster have come back. They're aphids and such, and I also see a little bit of Tapinoma here and there, though mostly on other stems. There's another good example there, that little patchy yellow. It's only if you're in the northeast. If you're not in the northeast of the United States, then other species you have to account for those. There's a Tapenoma. Another Tapenoma. And despite having a, horrible aphid infestation, this plant's actually doing quite fine. It's that one stem down below that had the issue. Eventually, over the summer, this plant will flower, and I believe the blooms might suffer, or it'll have a lower seed production, but I really don't need more of these plants. The actual root ball itself, down below, is more than capable of dividing. In theory, all of these stems here are coming from one plant. Of course, we're beneath a tree that the birds like, so there's droppings here and there, but anyway, this plant has actually reseeded itself quite a bit. And over here, I see predator, soldier beetle, which consume aphids and are, you notice there aren't as many ants on this particular stem. Actually, I don't see any ants. Whereas this one, the aphids are more than well protected. I'm curious, how far can I zoom in with this and keep in focus? Still using my new camera here. Of course, the stem is moving slightly. Let me try and hold it still. It's not as sharp as my other cameras, but it's still pretty passable, I would say. It's also not the best, not the most well-lit day, either. This whole week actually kind of cooled down, so I'm not seeing as much diversity, either. Zoom out here a bit. That's good. Alright, starting in the next, I think after next week, I'm going to start doing, weekly trips, or try to get out of, the yard more, because, there's Camponotus flew here, so there's more of a reason for me to actually get out of the house and do things. See a fast opportunity to point out two species here. This is Camponotus suburbatus, and you see it has kind of a brownish hue to it, along with the stripes that are not really showing. But down here we have Camponotus nearticus, which is more of a jet black kind of tone, and of course they either jump off the plant or hide under leaves when you disturb it, but anyway. No? Okay, yeah, he jumped off. I just saw the two species together. I thought I'd make a quick comment on that. So this is a native rose, or at least a rose that's more, it's closer to a true species rose, because there are European roses that look just like this. And I see occasional ants on these. Yes. What are you? That is looking more like Lasius alanius to me. Yeah. Kind of pale colored legs there. Yeah, Lasius alanius is also a dark colored legs one, but this plant is native. I don't see too many aphids on it. I see other things, like there was a glass slugger or something on here, which is a type of caterpillar. But you'll never really see ants in the flowers, because roses and, yeah, I guess it is just roses. I was going to say roses and apples, but I think apples actually have nectar inside them. But roses, almost 100%, it's nothing but pollen. There might be a slight floral oil or something to look up, but you'll never find rose flower honey or anything like that. These do smell nice, so it actually smells like lotion, kind of a smell here. Yeah, there's more Lasius alanius on this. So they're nectar scraping on the leaves, but I don't think there's nothing to steal from the flowers here. Might be an aphid or two, or some sort of pest, because I do see nibbling all throughout the plant, and all sorts of little skeletonization. Something has been it's kind of scraping the the leaf without biting all the way through. So you see all sorts of little different foraging strategies among things. Different leaf damages. But you don't see this kind of leaf damage on things like the Joe Pye weed earlier, or that sunflower that was teeming with ants. So, ants, along with, although they're stealing nectar from the flowers, they're also providing a surface to the plant, mainly, protecting it or discouraging predation. So. Anyway, we'll just, actually, while we're here, this is not a rose. This is actually a red-flowering raspberry, which is its own species, unlike other raspberries. This is not one I would ever grow for fruit. I just think it's really pretty, and it's kind of neat how the flower looks very similar to a rose. See a few more open here. Unlike other raspberries, the actual stem, it's like sticky to touch. There are no little prickles or things like that. Whereas some raspberries, you actually have actual thorns on these. Yeah. They're thorny like a raspberry, so it kind of varies somewhat. But anyway, this is one I would grow mostly. It's weird how it's like it doesn't quite stick to you, but it's interesting. They very rarely produce fruit, I've found. I think cross-pollination is key, and the nursery I bought them from need to boost their genetic diversity there. But, yeah, it's just something I thought I'd mention since it's here. Because I do grow, most of this is like raspberries, or some species or other. There's also like a different thing, like a boysenberry, which I need to get under control. And there's more, standard fare raspberries, like red raspberries that you find down here, and I grow black raspberries and all sorts of things like that. I should grow yellow raspberries also. And here we're still flowering, woodland poppy, and we have all these seed pods that are going to spring open. This whole plant right here, I didn't put that there. That was, the ants brought the seed here, and it grew from there. So, anyway, you get way more flowers here, whereas all my trilliums are already done flowering for the year. So, alright, moving on. Alright, Formica pallidiflora. This is the vegetable garden, so that colony is still alive, though I don't think they've moved on or something. They're not really under the same flower pot as I see them, or used to see them under. I don't know what they're doing here, though. Oh, you know what? There's like little aphids or something inside of these. Little green spots here. So those are the flowers, and then we have little, aphids. This is parsley, by the way. Second year. Parsley is a biannual. I'm touching the plant, and that's why I'm getting all perturbed. Also, a fat lady beetle looking for stuff to eat. Where did the ant go? Yes, you're on camera. Ignore the big red box in the sky. while we're here, there's another species called Formica incerta that looks identical to this one. Can have the same color forms and everything, but they have facial hair and hair on what I would call the back. It's actually the pronotum, which would be like the upper, like shoulder area kind of thing. There's also a Tapenoma over here. Anyway, the lack of that, the hair on the malar area and the upper back or shoulder area, says that this is Formica pallidifolva and not Formica incerta. Let's see if I can find others. Another Formica pallidifolva on a tall Coreopsis plant, which there is an actual species of Coreopsis that can get up to 10 feet tall. And this is it. Usually mine, they cap out around 6 or 5 or 6, I'd say. But there are specific cultivars and selections of these. They get up there. And I've seen them grow, and they're pretty impressive. Trouble is, they tend to move around a bit. This particular plant here, if I can let the focus come in here. This is in the meadow garden here. This is like front and center kind of thing. They used to be planted way back there where the goldenrod's coming up, behind the false indigo there, which is the, yeah, that plant there in the back, the goldenrod. And that's where they used to be. They've since reseeded themselves to be better suited toward the front. See, there's another one, and then came over here to the front here, where they seem to like growing. And I tolerate them because they don't usually weed anything out. You know, it's not like they're horribly invasive or anything like that. And if they become too aggressive, then I will get rid of them. While I'm looking at this is an Amsonia, which has nice flowers down here, but then I don't know what this is up top here, because none of my other Amsonias are doing that. Yeah, that one's kind of mixed in, but this one, it's sort of doing that, but they're not like that. They don't have those structures. I need to be careful stepping in here. Not a plant that has much to do with ants, so I do see a Tapenoma sessile on there, kind of thing. And you see down below here we have seedlings to various species coming up, so it's a part of a healthy meadow, though. Really, I should be throwing down mulch or something to better state that this is a garden and not really a meadow, because an actual meadow would have native grasses in it, and mine does not. I was basically writing a book on native plants for honeybees, which is also the title, and I basically needed a spot to test out all the flowers and take pictures and such. But anyway, oh, here we are. Found you again. I don't know what she's doing on this plant. Might just be nectar scraping, which, yeah, you see a lot of. Always something good to get off the leaves. So this dead, rotting stump has been in my yard for quite a while now, and I have a mason bee nest on top of it, but they're pretty much done their life cycle for the year. Underneath here, though, tends to be crawling with life sometimes. See all sorts of weird little spiders and things. And on some days I actually see things like Proceradium and Strumigenes just kind of crawling around in the leaf litter here. Full of decaying matter and stuff, because you see like snails come in here to die, and there's all sorts of like decomposers that live in this log, and it's just the right conditions for this type of weird cryptic ant species to live. But I'm not seeing any activity today. This is a lily, one of the ones you can buy pretty much any garden center, and it's kind of cute here. They're supposed to be pollinated, I think, by some type of hummingbird or butterfly or something. But down in here, you have ants digging their way into the place, the little nectaries, or wherever you find the nectar there. What are you? You are Camponotus suburbatus. Go down this little tube here and find the nectar. We'll do this without damaging the flower. Focused way too far in here. Yeah, actually, it looks like they dug in there. Anyway, see, they actually do steal nectar, and this plant has no... I have seen them with aphid problems before, not this particular one. Different cultivars are more or less resistant to certain species. And they're growing right next to the Camassia, which has completely finished its life cycle for the year. It'll start to die back the ground here, but anyway, should a hummingbird come here to pollinate this, which they likely won't because there's no nectar, they will find ants. One of the fun things about growing native species is also getting to grow true species as well. And this is a wild strawberry, which has every bit of as much flavor to it as the store kind, which are much bigger. It's basically concentrated. I don't know why it is that way, but it is, so yeah. That is good. Fruit's very nice, despite being a little compact and somewhat damaged looking. I think it's actually a lack of pollination doing that. But most of my plants, they usually don't bear any fruit at all. I see this one in the back here seems to be doing all the fruiting. Doesn't have anything to do with ants, but goes with the whole native plant philosophy that I like. So, anyway, thank you for watching. Strawberries are delicious, and goodbye.